Because I realized that about 95% of what I said was a lie of one form or another. It was ideas that I had taken that weren't mine, or I was saying things to win arguments, or I was saying things to look better than I was, or to convince myself that I was better than I was, or to look witty, or to impress people, or I was using language instrumentally, right? I was using it to gain an edge on the world. I wasn't using it to represent the way things are and to contend with reality itself. It's much better to use it in the latter manner than in the former manner. It's much more powerful. And it works better, but it's a horrible shock because you find out that you're mostly persona, that's the Jungian term, and that there's terrible things lurking inside and outside that persona. There's an idea, and I'll end with this, and you can tell me what you think about this. There's a deep idea that's related to the truth. And so in the opening lines of the biblical narrative, there are three elements of being that are portrayed. One is God the Father. And you can think about that as, whatever that is, you can think of it as something like structure, you can think about it as something like consciousness, or you can think about it as something like tradition. Or you can think of it this way, is that you can't face the world without a structure. Right? So we have an inbuilt structure, all of us. There's no interacting with the world without that structure. That's represented as a father, for reasons that are complex. We don't have to get into that. And then there's another element, which is the tohu vabohu, which is potential. And that's the chaos out of which God creates order. And then there's a third thing, which is the process that the structure uses to create order out of chaos. And that's the logos. And so there's this idea, right at the beginning of the biblical narrative, that the world is made out of potential. I would say that's the same potential that you confront when you face the future. And it's the same potential that resides in your heart. It's who you could be, and it's what could be. It's the possibility of new things. And it's a strange actuality, right? Because you think, well, possibility isn't actuality. Yeah, but it's still real. Or at least you act like it. You act like the possibility of the future is real. You act like there isn't anything more real than the possibility of the future. And you act like you can contend with it. And that's sort of writ large in the opening chapters of Genesis. There's a structure, and it uses logos, it's consciousness, it's communicative consciousness, and truth to interact with potential. Because logos is truth, above all. And so there's an idea there that structure uses communication to extract order out of potential. And that's what you do in your life when you face the future and you talk about it and you plan. There's all these things that might happen, and there's the decisions you make that make the things that might happen happen, and that turns them into the real world. And so that's what you're doing in your life, is you're taking the potential of things and turning them into the reality of things. And then the question is, well, what kind of reality are you turning them into? And the answer is, it depends on whether you're telling the truth or not. Because if you're telling the truth, then the reality that you turn them into is the positive reality that could be. It's the best of all possible worlds. And if you use deception, if you lie, then you turn what could be into the worst of what could be. And you're choosing constantly between paradise and hell. That's what you're doing in your ethical choices. In the opening lines of Genesis, God uses the logos, that's truth, to encounter potential and to turn it into habitable order. And every time he does that, he says, and it was good. And I puzzled about that for a long time. It's like, what do you mean it was good? It's like there's a hypothesis there. And the hypothesis is, when you confront potential with truth, the order you create is good. It's a deep idea. It's a deep idea. I think it's the fundamental ethical idea. And then in the later stages of Genesis, God pronounces for no apparent reason after he makes man and woman that were made in the image of God. And you think, well, do you believe that? And it has nothing to do with whether you believe in God, as far as I can tell. It's something more like, well, do you believe that the individual is of transcendent value? It's the bedrock of our culture to believe that, right? Is that we're the beings imbued with responsibility and rights. We're the sovereign people. Each of us is a sovereign individual, right? We have an immortal divine soul, so to speak. We partake in the process by which reality comes to be. We act to regenerate the tyranny of the ages and to set things right. That's us, made in the image of God. What's the idea? Speak the truth and bring what's good into being from the chaos of potential. That's your life.